At 60, Shania Twain finally said what her fans had waited years to hear.
The night your stepfather, whom you call your father, was beating your mother, and you walked in, and she was lying on the floor in front of the toilet.
That moment for me was the moment that I screamed and expressed every bit of suffering and pain and sadness and anger that I had the last time almost I ever did it.
For a long time, rumors followed her everywhere. People talked quietly about her painful childhood. They speculated about her health struggles. They whispered about her husband's betrayal. Through it all, Shania stayed silent. She smiled in public and kept performing. That silence is now over. In a recent interview, she confirmed what many suspected, but few dared to ask. The reality of her past is far darker than most people realized.
First I found out that my marriage was over. And then the next day I found out about the affair. My own friend, who I had confided in, had an affair with my husband. And so I said, Marianne, don't you think that my husband is acting strange? And she said, no, I don't see anything strange. You know, I was putting a lot of pressure on communicating with my husband. And so I forced the issue. That conversation ended with, it's over between us.
Shania Twain was born on August 28, 1965, in Windsor, Ontario. Her given name was Eileen Regina Edwards. When she was just 2 years old, her parents separated. Her mother, Sharon, raised Shania and her sisters on her own until she married Jerry Twain, an Ojibwa man who adopted the girls and gave them his last name. The family later moved to a small mining town called Timmins. Life there was extremely difficult. Their home was small, poorly heated, and often without electricity. Food was sometimes scarce. Shania later shared that the family moved frequently, sometimes 3 times in a single year, just to escape unpaid bills. By 1968, when Shania was only 3, she was already singing around the house. Her mother noticed her talent and began entering her into small talent competitions. Even though money was tight, Sharon would drive long distances so Shania could perform. By age 4, she could play basic tunes on a toy guitar. Winters were harsh, with temperatures dropping to -30 degrees. The family survived on hunted moose, fish they caught themselves, and simple meals like bread with mustard. In 1970, at just 5 years old, Shania won her first talent contest, earning a ribbon and $5. That same year, the family's situation grew worse. Jerry, her stepfather, had a violent temper. He abused Sharon, sometimes right in front of the children. By 1971, when Shania was 6, she was performing on a local radio station. While other kids spent time playing, she was singing in bars at night to help bring in money. Some nights, she practiced until morning, and then chopped wood before school to help keep the house warm. By the time she was 8 in 1973, she was performing in bars after midnight. The environment was unsafe. Men in the crowd were often drunk, and some crossed the line. One man even grabbed her. To hide her developing body, she began wearing tight bras. Despite the fear, she continued performing. Each show paid about $20, which helped cover food and bills. In 1975, at age 10, she had already performed in more than 100 bar shows. That same year, she began writing her own songs. Writing became her escape from the fear and chaos at home. One song, Mama, Won't You Come Out to Play, was about her mother's depression. Sharon sometimes stayed in bed for days, leaving Shania to care for the household. That year, something deeply frightening happened. Jerry assaulted Sharon so violently that he shoved her head into a toilet. Shania thought her mother had been killed. She struck Jerry with a chair, and he responded by punching her in the face. She was only 10 years old. Not long after, Jerry began touching her in ways that were wrong. To protect herself, she started wearing multiple bras, hoping to make herself less noticeable. Police were called to the house many times, but nothing changed. The family once fled to a women's shelter, but eventually returned home. By 1978, when Shania was 13, she was performing regularly at local events. She appeared on radio programs and small television shows. But the suffering at home continued. She often went to school hungry and felt too embarrassed to tell anyone. Her mother pushed her to follow the path of Tanya Tucker, a famous young country singer, even when it put her at risk. In November 1987, Shania's life changed forever. At 22, she lost both her mother and Jerry in a head-on collision with a logging truck near Kapuskasing. Her sister called her with the news. She was devastated. Shania gave up her own goals to care for her younger siblings, Carrie Ann, Mark, and Daryl. She became their guardian and put her dreams aside to raise them. In 1988, she found work singing at the Deerhurst Resort in Huntsville. It was a large venue where she performed nightly in front of hundreds of guests. She stayed there for 5 years, from 1988 to 1993. It became her first steady job as a performer. She sang, danced, and acted while also acting as a full-time parent to her siblings. Her own music ambitions were paused so she could support them and keep their lives stable. In 1989, at age 23, she moved to Nashville. She adopted the name Shania Twain, using her stepfather's last name. She signed with Mercury Records, but her early demo recordings were turned down. Many in Nashville didn't like her blend of country and rock. To survive, she cleaned houses to pay for vocal lessons and sometimes didn't even have a permanent place to stay. Still, she refused to quit. In 1991, producer Nora Wilson noticed her talent and helped her secure her first album deal. When her debut album was released in 1993, it failed to gain traction. It sold around 100,000 copies, and she earned only $1 per album. She had little creative control and wrote just one song herself. The project didn't reflect who she really was. While critics praised her voice, the album felt disconnected from her identity. Later in 1993, another turning point arrived. Rock producer Robert John "Mutt" Lang heard her music and reached out. He was known for working with Def Leppard and AC/DC, and he believed strongly in her potential. They began collaborating and quickly developed a romantic relationship. Just 6 months after meeting, they married in December of that year. Together, they created the album that would change everything. At 28 years old, Shania Twain released the record that transformed her life and career forever. On February 7, 1995, The Woman in Me was released and caught the country music world off guard. It didn't sound like what Nashville usually put out. The album leaned heavily toward pop. Many traditional listeners weren't ready for it, but the gamble paid off. The record sold over 12 million copies in the United States and reached diamond status by 1997. Tracks like Whose Bed Have Your Boots Been Under?, Any Man of Mine, and others shot up the country charts and crossed into pop radio rotation. What fans didn't know was that during the recording process, Shania was already dealing with early signs of Lyme disease. Her voice was starting to weaken. She didn't understand what was happening, but she pushed through and kept recording. By 1996, The Woman in Me had sold 20 million copies worldwide. At only 29 years old, while working on that album between 1994 and 1995, Shania wasn't just focused on singing. She was also fighting for creative control. At the time, Many people in country music believed women shouldn't be involved in producing their own albums. She challenged that thinking and demanded to be heard. In her 2022 documentary, Not Just a Girl, she explained that some of the lyrics came from painful personal experiences. She also shared that she went through a miscarriage scare in 1993 while trying to balance her career and becoming a new mother. She succeeded in getting credit as a co-producer, something very few women had achieved during that period. Later in 1995, Shania set out on her first major North American tour. Between 1995 and 1996, she performed in more than 150 cities and earned over $10 million. In August 1995, she played to a crowd of 20,000 fans at Toronto's Sky Dome. Her stage outfits showed her midriff, and she moved across large, rock-style stages. Some critics complained, but the look helped her connect with audiences beyond traditional country fans. On February 28, 1996, she won her first Grammy for Best Country Album at age 30. Instead of universal praise, backlash followed. Some country radio stations dropped her songs, and she even received death threats. She didn't back down or apologize. Her music continued to play, and her popularity kept rising. On November 4, 1997, Shania released Come On Over. It became the best-selling album by a female artist in history. By 2015, worldwide sales had passed 40 million copies. Songs like You're Still the One and From This Moment On turned into worldwide hits. Years later, she admitted that she wrote some of those love songs while feeling uneasy about her marriage. When Mutt's affair came to light in 2008, those feelings suddenly made sense. The pain had been there long before. In Canada, Come On Over debuted at number 1, selling more than 51,000 copies in its first week. It later reached double diamond status with over 2 million units shipped. From 1998 to 1999, Shania toured globally with the Come On Over World Tour. Running from May 29, 1998 to December 5, 1999, the tour included 165 shows across North America, Europe, Australia, and the UK. It brought in over 80 million and drew around 2 million fans. In January 1999, Elton John joined her on stage in Miami. The Backstreet Boys also performed From This Moment On with her. Anyone who claimed she couldn't sing live was proven wrong. Her shows were powerful, and in both 1998 and 1999, Polestar named her Country Tour of the Year. CBS aired 2 televised concert specials in 1999, including one on Thanksgiving, which attracted millions of viewers. Then came the 41st Grammy Awards in Los Angeles on February 24, 1999. That night, Shania won 4 awards. She took home Best Country Song and Best Female Country Vocal Performance for You're Still the One. The same evening, Lauryn Hill made history with 10 nominations, yet Shania still stood out. Her blend of pop and country now ruled the charts. Just 1 year earlier, in 1998, the Academy of Country Music had named her Entertainer of the Year. In 1999, she received a rare double diamond honor for both The Woman in Me and Come On Over. By then, Come On Over had sold more than 47 million album units. On August 12, 2001, Shania gave birth to her son, Aja D'Angelo Lang, in Switzerland. She described him as the center of her life. While recording her next album, Up, she was also learning how to be a mother. That new role softened the tone of some of her music. By 2002, she said Aja was the reason she stayed grounded. She didn't want fame to shape how he grew up. She baked birthday cakes, took care of the dogs, and tried to keep life simple despite her success. On November 19, 2002, she released Up, an album offered in 3 versions. One focused on country, another leaned pop, and a third was made for international audiences with a Bollywood influence. It was a risky idea, but it succeeded. The album sold more than 20 million copies. In Canada, it reached diamond status quickly. I'm Gonna Get You Good hit #1 in 15 countries. Behind the scenes, though, Shania was dealing with a serious health struggle. The Lyme disease she contracted in 2003 had damaged her vocal cords. Slowly, her voice began to fade. Even though the album generated around $150 million, the toll was heavy. Recording sessions were exhausting, her marriage to Mutt was under strain, and her situation worsened when stalkers began invading her life. On July 12, 2002, a man broke into her home in Switzerland, stole personal belongings, and left disturbing notes. Another stalker sent her more than 1,000 emails and even appeared at her grandmother's funeral in 2004. Her fear grew so intense that she slept with a loaded gun under her pillow and hired full-time security, costing about $500,000 a year. Those fears were rooted in abuse she had experienced earlier in life. In 2003, she donated $100,000 to organizations that help victims of stalking. Despite everything happening around her, she delivered 115 flawless performances. Her Up Tour kicked off on September 25, 2003, in Hamilton, Ontario, and ran through March 2004. The tour brought in $100 million. Tickets sold out within minutes. Madison Square Garden alone sold 20,000 seats almost instantly. The shows featured fireworks, 20 costume changes, and physical stage tricks. But her voice was starting to weaken. On November 15, 2003, during a concert in Chicago, it cracked mid-performance. She relied on cortisone shots just to finish the tour. On March 4, 2004, while performing in Munich, she injured her ankle in a stage accident. Several shows had to be canceled, yet she still donated $1 million from the tour's earnings to children's hospitals. A month later, on April 4, 2004, Shania hosted the Juno Awards in Edmonton. During the broadcast, she spoke openly about growing up with violence and living with PTSD. More than 2 million people watched. Her speech helped raise funds for music education and shifted how women were viewed in the industry. That night, she wore a $50,000 gown decorated with symbols representing strength. Away from the spotlight, her marriage was quietly breaking down. Back in 2002, she had already fought to keep creative control over Up, even threatening to walk away. The tension had been building for years. In September 2004, she recorded Party for Two with Billy Currington. The song was light-hearted and fun and reached #2 on the country charts. Still, the lyrics caused backlash, especially in religious regions, and some radio stations refused to play it. Even so, the track sold more than 1 million copies and earned a Grammy nomination. Her voice was so damaged during recording that she whispered parts of the song in the studio, though listeners never noticed. The music video was filmed in London with 500 extras and included an appearance by Elton John. The song helped launch Billy Currington's career, influenced future artists like Florida Georgia Line, and earned $5 million by 2005. Shania Twain was 42 when everything fell apart, in May 2008. After 15 years of marriage to her producer husband, Robert Mutt Lang, she learned he had been having a secret affair. The woman involved wasn't a stranger. It was her closest friend and personal assistant, Marie-Anne Thiebaud. The truth came out when Marie-Anne's husband, Frédéric Thiebaud, discovered the affair and told Shania himself. That same month, Shania and Lang separated. Their divorce was finalized on June 9, 2010. Making it even harder, Lang stayed with Marie-Anne. In an unexpected turn, Shania and Frédéric, both hurt by the same betrayal, found comfort in each other, and eventually fell in love. They married on January 1st, 2011. The emotional damage was overwhelming. Shania said it felt like losing her parents all over again, the same parents she had lost in a car accident in 1987 when she was 22. This wasn't just heartbreak. She fell into severe depression. At 43, while living in Switzerland, she attempted to take her own life. Standing on a balcony, ready to jump, she stopped herself when she thought about her 7-year-old son, Aja. She later said the pain felt just as heavy as the grief she never fully healed from after her parents' deaths. Between 2008 and 2010, she isolated herself in Switzerland. During that time, she didn't yet know she was also dealing with Lyme disease. She had been bitten by a tick in 2003 while horseback riding. The illness damaged her vocal cords and caused dizziness and blackouts. As her health declined, memories of childhood abuse resurfaced. She began therapy to confront everything she had buried. Over time, she chose to forgive Lang. She made it clear she didn't excuse what he did, but she refused to carry the weight of it. She said his actions were something he would have to live with, not her. Even before the affair, between 2005 and 2010, Shania had already stepped away from music after releasing Up in 2002. She focused on raising her son, Aja, who was born on August 12, 2001. After the betrayal in 2008, life felt even heavier. She moved to Switzerland hoping to disappear from public view. At the same time, her health continued to decline. Lyme disease had been affecting her since 2003. The symptoms were frightening. She would black out for split seconds every 30 seconds. Her voice would suddenly cut off. She started to believe she would never sing again. During that painful period, she and Frederick slowly grew closer. That unusual bond led to their wedding in Puerto Rico on New Year's Day in 2011. Later that year, she appeared in the TV series Why Not with Shania Twain, allowing viewers to see her recovery process. In May 2011, she released her autobiography, From This Moment On. She was 45. The book sold more than 100,000 copies in its first week and became a New York Times bestseller. She didn't hide anything in the book. She wrote about growing up poor, being sexually abused by her stepfather starting at age 10, and losing her parents in 1987. She also detailed the pain of the 2008 betrayal, saying it felt less like a breakup and more like an act of violence. She shared memories of washing her siblings' clothes in a river and singing in bars as a teenager to help feed her family. Much of the book was written during her recovery years and served as a form of therapy. Reviewers praised her honesty. Some highlighted lighter moments, like the story about fleeing a wealthy admirer's mansion. The book showed fans who she really was. Long before becoming the best-selling female country artist with 100 million records sold, she had survived years of hardship. In June 2011, she announced a major return. A Las Vegas residency titled Shania, Still the One, was scheduled to begin in December 2012, but her voice still wasn't ready. The Lyme disease from 2003 had caused nerve damage that led to dysphonia. She struggled to sing and couldn't even speak loudly. In 2018, she underwent open throat surgery. By that point, she had lived without a strong voice for 15 years. She said mourning her voice felt like grieving a death. The Las Vegas residency eventually ran from 2012 to 2014, earning $43 million across 105 shows. Her full album comeback arrived in 2017 with Now, her first studio album in 15 years. She was 52, and the album proved she could still connect with audiences. Still, that tick bite from 2003 never stopped affecting her. Lyme disease caused dizziness on stage, balance issues, and blackouts every 30 seconds. At 38, during the peak of her career, she feared her singing days were finished. She went through years of medical testing before doctors finally discovered that the nerves controlling her voice were damaged. By then, the damage couldn't be fully reversed. She was still selling millions of records, but privately, her health was failing. The diagnosis came too late to fix everything. She had to rebuild her voice from scratch. Then came surgery. On August 1, 2018, she underwent an extremely rare procedure. She was fully awake during the surgery, and even sang while it was happening. Surgeons inserted Gore-Tex supports into her throat to help her vocal cords move again. She later described the experience as terrifying. After the operation, she was too scared to make a sound, but the procedure worked. Today, she carries a visible scar that she's proud of. She said she'd rather have that mark than lose her voice. By 2019, she was back performing, though her voice had a deeper tone. She had to relearn everything: muscle memory, vocal control, balance. From 2018 to 2020, she went through 2 full years of intensive vocal therapy. She couldn't sing loudly or hold notes at first, but gradually her voice returned. Then the pandemic hit. In 2020, at age 55, she contracted COVID-19, and it nearly killed her. She developed pneumonia, with fluid filling her lungs daily. Her asthma made the situation even worse. Her antibodies dropped close to zero, and she flatlined. A special medical team airlifted her for emergency care. For 12 days, she underwent plasma therapy, barely holding on. Doctors didn't tell her how close she was to needing a respirator. After surviving, she remembered a conversation with a minister about how precious fresh air is. That memory inspired her to start writing music again. In the same year, she began preparing for a full return. Her comeback had started earlier, with the Now album in 2017. It had been 15 years since her last studio project. At age 52, she returned to the studio. The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, selling 137,000 units in its first week. The songs reflected life after heartbreak, particularly her 2008 divorce. Her vocal cords were still healing, and the pain was fresh, but she poured it all into the record. The cover, with her in leopard print, paid homage to her past while signaling a new beginning. In 2018, while touring the album, she suffered intense panic attacks. At 53, adjusting to her changed voice felt like taking an exam every day. She had to carefully control her diet, schedule, and even her energy. Fans singing along sometimes caused her to lose focus and forget lyrics. She shared the struggle during a December 7, 2018 episode of Live with Kelly and Ryan, and even used hypnosis to cope. Still, she completed 49 shows from May to December that year, earning over $20 million. During one Nashville performance, she broke down talking about her divorce, but she continued singing. In 2023, she released her boldest album yet. Queen of Me came out on February 3rd when she was 57. This time, the songs explored aging, menopause, and self-love, featuring 12 tracks including Waking Up Dreaming and Giddy Up. In the US, it sold 38,000 units in the first week. In the UK, it debuted at #1. She posed topless for the single artwork, saying it gave her a sense of freedom after years of body shame. That shame began in childhood, stemming from abuse by her stepfather and a life of poverty. She said hiding her body for so long made her feel invisible. Now, she wanted to feel seen. The tour that followed was massive. From April 28, 2023 to November 14, 2024, she performed 75 shows across North America and Europe. She was between 57 and 59 years old, yet her energy never faltered. Before the tour, She surprised fans at Coachella in April 2022, performing with Harry Styles. Tickets sold out in cities like Vancouver and Toronto, where she played double nights, earning millions. The tour grossed over $114 million, proving she could still outshine artists half her age. Despite lingering stage fright, she incorporated aerial stunts, costume changes, and joyful moments into her performances. By 2026, in new interviews, she explained why she had posed nude for her 2023 album artwork. At 59, she no longer feared her body. She described it as a way to overcome past trauma. She stopped hiding. She wanted to show other women that even after 50, even after abuse, illness, heartbreak, and near-death experiences, it's possible to stand strong. She recalled performing in bars at age 8 to help her family survive. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. Drop a comment below and let us know your favorite part of her incredible journey.